my literary luminaries, and welcome back to another Top 5 Thursday. This Top 5 Thursdays list, it made me think a little bit more. I don't know, this is an interesting topic. This week's topic is the top 5 books that are outside your comfort zone. I don't have too much of a comfort. I suppose I have a comfort zone, but I don't consider much not. Like, specifically not in my comfort zone. So I'm going to give it a whirl, and we're going to see how that goes. So, without further ado, let's get started. Number 1. Number 1 is a book I read a very long time ago. I actually can't remember the author. If I thought about it or looked it up, I could probably come up with it. There will be a text box. There's always a text box. But I read Black Hawk Down because I saw the movie. I'm fairly certain the only reason I saw the movie is because I was told Orlando Bloom was in it. Of course, Orlando's role is about this big. But I enjoyed the movie, which is kind of weird because nonfiction and anything to do with wars are definitely outside my comfort zone, which is why this is the first book that came to mind. But I was so interested by the movie that I went out and got the book, and it took me forever to read the book because I got it in high school, I think, and it's a relatively thick, even in paperback, book, and it's nonfiction, it's war fiction, it's heavy stuff. It took me forever to read it, but I remember really enjoying it. So it's always sort of the first one that comes to mind of books that I really liked that aren't in my usual reading zone. Number 2 is Highs in the Low 50s by Marion Winik. I had a chance to actually hear Ms. Winik speak twice during my residencies in grad school, which is where I got the book. Highs in the Low 50s, I believe, is classified as creative nonfiction. Again, something that I enjoy, but not something I read a lot of. And Marion Winik's books are hysterical. She's got a great sense of humor. I don't know if this one is, but I think she also writes pieces for newspapers, and I think some of these are conglomerations thereof. I don't know if that's absolutely true in this regard. If for whatever reason you're watching this video, Marion, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But it's a really fun little collection, and it's nice because it speaks to me despite the fact that I'm not even remotely close to the age group that she's talking about. But hey, if you can make the stories of, someone in their early 50s relatable to, 20-something me, then I call that a success. Number 3 is Stargirl by Jerry Spinelli. I think Stargirl's technically middle grade, which is definitely outside of my comfort zone now, just because I've found that I don't like middle grade as much as I used to. Go figure, I'm 28 years old. But Stargirl was cool, and I think it's because I related so much to Stargirl, to the main character, because I was that kid, sort of, when I was that age. I was the weird one out. I was the one that my classmates didn't really know what to do with. And so sort of seeing it from the outside perspective, because we don't see it from Stargirl's perspective, we see it from her classmate, whose name I believe is Leo. It's neat to be able to see that, and I think it's done very well. And even though there's some really sad parts of the book, some parts that I wish didn't happen just because I know how it must have felt, those are the things that do happen. It's a very real story, at least, especially to someone like me. So even though, it's middle grade, it's relatively simplistically written, I still really enjoyed it. Number 4 is another middle grade book. It's called Voyage on the Great Titanic. It's a Dear America book, so they're books written as diaries for different people, supposedly through history. I suppose this is also sort of on the edge of creative nonfiction. But this was about a girl whose name I believe was Margaret. She was on the Titanic. It's written as her diary, going through the entire process. It's a nice way to teach younger kids history. And I love the Dear America series. I haven't had a chance to go back and reread them in a long time, but Voyage on the Great Titanic is one of the few books in my life that I have reread multiple times over the years. And I don't know what it is about that one. I have at least 4, I think, I saw on my bookshelf recently that I've kept because I enjoyed them. But that was always the one that I liked the most. I don't know why. It's simplistically written. The plot, obviously we all know the plot. Spoilers, the ship sinks. And it's such a basic story and I don't care. I just really like it. And number 5. Number 5, yet again, I think is in creative nonfiction. There's been a lot in that category recently. Because I know it's sort of, it's based on true events, but it's very loosely based on true events. And that's Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. And yet again, I've forgotten the author's name. There will be a text box telling you what it is right around now. This is another one that I still want to see I have seen the movie of it. Whoops. I wanted to see the movie for a long time, but my dad watched the movie and really enjoyed it and knew that I had bought the book at a book sale or some such, and goes, if you remember, when you read the book, let me know if, X event is accurate to what you know of that society. I was like, yeah, sure, what have you. And I read it sort of piecemeal during breaks at work at that point, and it was such a good book. And yes, what he was asking about was absolutely accurate. But it's just such a cool book. And I think the reason that I really want to classify this as creative nonfiction, and really why any of them I would classify as creative nonfiction, is that I was taught in my grad program that the most basic definition of creative nonfiction is true stories told well. That's what it is. It's you take a real story with real people and true events, and you change it just enough to make it a well-told story. Because, if I tell you the story of me living here in Richmond, it's going to be really boring for most of it because there's whole chunks of time where I'm just living here and going to work and doing nothing. That's why there's a big chunk when I was unemployed. I didn't do anything interesting. And there's a lot of those pieces in real life. And so if I tell you the story, I'm going to cut out huge pieces of it. Maybe tell you that they were there. Maybe just truncate the timeline. It's some of the stuff you can move stuff a little bit around just to make the story told better and not actually change the truth of it. And Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil does that immensely well. I don't know how much is altered from what really happened. I haven't had a chance to really look too much in depth at that, but it was fantastic and I love it. And the movie is also super excellent. It's got Kevin Spacey and John Cusack, I believe, as the 2 main characters. It's so good. So good. But those are my 5. I feel like most of them were in creative nonfiction, but hey, I suppose that's fine. Let me know, what are your top 5 books that you've read and enjoyed or what have you outside of your usual comfort zone? Let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear from you, or you can find me on Twitter at KRyanFrey. I love to chat with you either way. If you like the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. It is very much appreciated. And hey, if you're new around here, why not subscribe? YouTube will very kindly notify you every time I put up a new video, which should be every Tuesday and Thursday. But for the time being, I will bid you all adieu. And I will see you all again on Tuesday for a new Tuesday Talks. As you'll see on my whiteboard, I have been counting down to when I'm moving. I don't know if I'm going to try and do next week's videos in advance or not. So, because at that point, next Tuesday, I'm going to have only been in the new place for like a couple of days, and I don't know how much of that I'm going to have to work. So the next week, you may still see the apartment, but with any luck at all, sometime soon, you will see where I have moved to in the new office and all that good jazz. I'm really, really gonna try and not have videos just completely vanish for any period of time, but I don't know how life in the new house is going to go. So if you don't hear something, I'll either put something up on Twitter or I'll make a quick like phone webcam video explaining what's going on so that you're not completely lost. But either way, I will see you on Tuesday for a new Tuesday Talks. Bye! I mean, it's based on true events, but it's very loosely based on true events, and it's the midnight of Fleabee